Hello, and welcome to a very Yuletide edition of Meet the Producers, a Brunswick podcast powered by Brunswick Area Television. I'm Ben Staunton, and sitting next to me is a jolly elf himself, Tom Kepler.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
As you notice, I said a jolly elf because, you know, we all can be Santa Claus. Did you know that, Tom?
I did not.
To give a gift is more important than to receive a gift. So we can all be Santa Claus this holiday season. So if there's some place that you want to volunteer or you want to do something, I say that people should go out and do it. Just put caution to the wind and do it. I know the Salvation Army is looking for people, so.
Nothing wrong with that. You know what I've always wanted to do?
What's that?
November always runs up so quick. You see in old movies like the Salvation Army band, trench coats and the army hats, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that. I don't want to be in one of those brass bands that goes and plays downtown. Now, back in the day, we used to ring the bell and we'd play. My buddy and I used to play our horns up there, so we did our own version. But, you know, I want the uniform.
Yeah, that would be nice. You can march on in and ring the bell.
Yep.
So this is a very special edition. I mean, we don't have a guest this month because, well, we're going to talk about what we've done so far in a year and I guess what's to come.
Yeah. So far we've had a pretty good lineup, and that's kind of par for the course because we have really great producers. Do you want to go month by month, kind of recap a little bit of everything? Because I know first up we had Don O'Malley.
Yeah, that one, for some reason I flew solo on it, but we won't get into that.
Oh, yeah.
Extenuating circumstances. But, let's take a quick listen to a little soundbite from that one that aired in April here on Brunswick Area Television.
I then went to Don's Breakfast Cereal Show, which I've been doing for almost 4 years, coming up soon. Started it in 2019, and we've been running ever since, weekly shows. We have come to a milestone. As far as I know, we've had 300 shows so far to date, which comes down to basically we run 65 shows a year. Serials and Cliffhangers did not have horror movies per se. We do specials. We take old horror movies that are always in public domain. I have to watch them, and then I have to figure out where to cut me in. And my son, Donnie, has been doing a great job of this. So you'll see me in some of the horror movies with Bela Lugosi, Vincent Price, and the Bowery Boys, as well as the Rich Brothers. So I'm having a great time so far. I was originally going to run the show for 5 years, thinking that I would have run out of serials by then. I found out differently. There are a lot more serials out there that I've never seen before. I can also run old cowboy movies that were shorts that usually only ran about a half hour each, which I can run 4 of them in a show. So you'll see a young John Wayne and a Tex Ritter in my show every now and then. But I'm having the best time of my life with the serials. And we've gotten more and more serials that have been restored and actually colorized. So that opens it up to another larger audience out there to view.
You handled the show well without me. Thank you.
Well, when you're thrown into the captain's chair and the plane's going down, you got to save it from the water somehow. I mean, I'm not that guy who saved the airplane from the Hudson. What was that dude's name? But
Sully. Yeah.
Yeah. See, you're like the fact guy. That's why I need you here. And if you're listening to this and you're like, why are these two so gravelly? Well, it's that season to share illnesses, I guess. So we've both been a little under the weather. So if you're having to suffer through this gravelly voiced podcast, we apologize right
My
now.
doctor said it's just allergies, so I don't know.
I'm allergic to breathing, so that's probably why I sound the way I do. And so next up in May, we had another eclectic group in here with the Midnight Movie. And those guys were just absolutely amazing with their cameras they brought in and other stuff, and they actually threw us in their show.
Yeah.
So their ratings probably went way down, I would assume.
No. Would you consider that a crossover episode then?
I guess so. I guess, it's a podcast, it's a TV show. It's amazing.
Yeah,
So
some of our guests, I say that we're not running the cameras for this. That puts them at ease a little bit, and these guys brought their own camera crew.
let's take a quick listen to some of that one from May.
Well, it's Terry G's gazebo, so it's known as the G spot.
It was your spot, but it was even cool shooting there because, like I said, we like the fans. The kids would run up and down the street, and then they'd be yelling at us because they could see us sitting there, and we yelled back. Denny was doing his Tarzan scream the one day. The kids were actually doing Tarzan screams back with us, and so it was cool just
we
being
showed the
outside.
Tarzan
It was
movie.
cool for that day, but when you guys left, I lived there, and the kids wouldn't shut up for a week.
Well, they were just excited. They're the future hosts of this show. Maybe.
So Denny, not into the microphone, but off to the side. Let's hear this Tarzan scream.
That one.
See, there you go. See,
I didn't say it was a good one.
That was,
well, you know, it's,
and that was
tempered
toned
a little
down.
bit, but yeah, it was fun. All of a sudden we'd do it, and then all of a sudden we'd hear the kids. You know, we'd do it, and then you'd hear them do it. We did it, and then
We turned it into a
yeah,
contest.
then, we ended up we had
it's like Marco Polo.
went over and Lisa's Terry's lady friend, if you will, went over and crossed the street and grabbed the kids and said, "Hey, come on over." So next thing you know, we had the kids all on the set, and you know they were doing the yelling. We had them all do a Tarzan yell, and that's why we if you show up at our studio, chances are you're going to be involved in some kind of skit or be on the couch somewhere or a stage or something, doing something. You're just not going to come there and just sit and watch. You're getting involved in something, and then we get
And
them
don't come
vans
when
involved.
we're trying a new food. You might not leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot of food challenges lately, and the hotter the better. So
Yeah.
the Armageddon sauce that we did that we couldn't even speak, and then we decided to do another show after that, and our eyes are all rolling. But we basically have fun. I got to say, like Terry says, people come down to the studio once in a while to watch the show, which is rare because we don't have that much room. But we want people to have fun. We try to get involved with the show. If we go out to somewhere, we try to get people to get involved with the show, or we'll shoot something there. Glardy Fest we love Glardy Fest because people would come up to us and stuff. We'd shoot skits. You know, we just walk around I did the Streak there, did our version of the Streak, which was, I thought it would be easy. It wasn't. But I mean, we just, wherever we go, out in the community, wherever, we try to have fun, and it's all about the fans. So
They're called the Midnight Movie, but you can catch them at other times. So it doesn't have to be late at night. You can watch them during the day. They're always great. I know Rich comments on some of our posts, so it's always great to hear from those guys. Thankful they came down to join us. Next, we had Kirk Maynard, but I don't necessarily think he wanted us to name the episode that, because we interviewed the crew from Natural Bridges Puppets. So we got to know some characters, some lighthearted individuals with that group.
That's true. If we put in a soundbite of Kirk, it's going to be like 1 second. 'Cause I don't think he said one word to the whole thing, but his crew came in and they had plenty to say. So let's take a quick listen to that one from June.
So I don't know if this would be for Nutty or Chad or Kirk. Probably Nutty because he mentioned My NB TV.
My NBTV.
NBTV, the NB stands for Natural Bridges. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why don't you elaborate on that a little bit? That's your Facebook page, isn't it?
Yeah, My NBTV. Yeah, that's our station. Well, actually, you know, the name of our community is Natural Bridges. And long time ago, why it came up that way was we had these three separate communities, Open Eyes, Mysticville, and Laurelton, and we needed to find a way to connect each community. And the only way that we could think of it was to create natural bridges that connected each town to the other, hence Natural Bridges.
Naturally.
So we go by, Open Eyes is a high-tech town. Laurelton is like your small town village, and Mysticville is sort of like your old-time naturistic community. So each one works together to solve problems and stuff. We actually created, back in the day, we had an educational, that's actually how our company got started, is that we had an educational show that we were going to launch. But then My NBTV took over and just totally threw it away.
Did it their way.
Yeah, well, My NBTV was more where we really wanted to be. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I just wanted to make sure people realize that there was meaning behind that.
Oh, yeah. We try to have meaning in everything at our station. Right, Chad? Yeah, absolutely. We try, but sometimes no.
June was pretty fun. We were happy to have Kirk and Nutty T. Squirrel and Chad Owens, and we heard stories about the rest of the gang, so that's always a good time. I heard they're coming in for a lunch break live. They might be the next. That's a spoiler alert. You can put it on your calendars whenever we announce it. But we're looking forward to working with them. Brunswick Group Therapy. Have you ever heard of them?
I have heard of them.
You should, because we interviewed them here.
We did. I think I was here that day. Oh, wait, no, I was there that day. I didn't, just have something come up or anything. I was actually there. So, no, they came in. And just to remind everybody, if as you're listening to this, you can check out any of these Meet the Producers right on our YouTube channel. You can go there, you can visit it, and you can relive the magic that happened with Tom Kepler and I right here in our studio. So let's take a quick listen to some of the Brunswick Group Therapy podcast that aired here in July.
I think what we do really well is I do the social aspects of things and he does the business aspect of things. So public records request and the digging into rules and regulations and stuff like that. He does a lot of that. I'm the party planner, and the page has enabled us to help people in their time of need, whether it be a child in need or the fires, a house fire and stuff like that. It's really been a tool that the You're from Brunswick If page has allowed us to really bring the two, the township and the city, together to help. We're right in the middle of our next project. Marketing is like my love, and grassroots marketing is my number one love.
Is that what you do for a living? Or
I don't. I'm in the nonprofit sector.
Okay.
So I'm an administrator for a nonprofit.
Nonprofit marketing is just as important, though.
Yeah,
'cause
exactly.
It is. It is. But we really our key thing is to support small businesses.
Cool.
I mean, and inform the public of what, But so we're constantly trying to come up with new ideas to highlight the businesses. We never charge anybody anything. We don't, they look at us like, what? You what? And I'm like, honestly, we're
It's a
just
hobby.
here. It's a hobby
service, and
that
it's
we
free.
love. And I think I'm speaking for the both of us when I
Right.
say that we love. And our next project, we do community projects together and stuff like that. And like you said, bringing the township and the city together. We're doing a Blessing Box project. So that the Blessing Box is a 24/7 food pantry. And it's just a box that'll be sitting on private property, and there'll be 4 of them located throughout Brunswick and the township. And through the page, we will help facilitate keeping those stocked so people can go and get assistance whenever they need. So
Now, do
pretty
you know the
excited about
location
that.
at this time, or is this still something that's in the works at this recording?
I know the location of 3 of them, and the 4th is still up in the air. I haven't gotten final. So there'll be one in the township at the Brunswick Hills Police Department. There'll be one at Fair Trade next to Luna's on Pearl Road.
Okay.
And there will be one at the Brunswick Methodist Church on the corner of 303
Nice.
and Pearl. So we're hoping to get one more down farther on 303. We're scoping that out. And ideally, I would like one over by Great Scots, but we'll see. Medina's had them for years, and it's just something that I
Oh,
feel
have
the
they?
community, yeah, they have. And I'm not saying we have to be like every other community, but often that's one of the questions. A lot of these things come out of the questions that we see in the group. And then we just feel that we need to take a lead on them and either find answers or do something about it. And a lot of people are having a hard time making it to food pantries, the hours that they're open and stuff like that. So this hopefully will help them in a time of need.
Thank you, Lucas and Kimberly, for coming in that afternoon. It was actually interesting where they are one of the first groups that came in to produce a podcast specifically. So they handle most of their episodes on their own. They'll do special episodes here in the studio, but a lot of these are crossovers. They might be TV shows. They might do their own podcasts. But we first met them when they started the Brunswick Group Therapy podcast. So they might be notable around town, but that's when we first got to know them. So thank you.
So Danny Kaye stopped in August, and he didn't stop in alone. He brought Stan Stankowski with him, the Polish Prince. He also brought in the annoying unknown comic. Those 2 guys graced our location here, stopping in, talking to us for a little bit. So, hey, let's take a listen back to some of the August edition of Meet the Producers with Danny Kaye and his group of interesting individuals.
Stan Stankowski, right?
Yep,
This is Stan Stankowski, the Polish Prince. How's it going, Tom and Jerry?
How are you, Jerry?
Well, it's got a name change. Totally.
What is it, Tom and Jerry?
No, it's Ben. Stan. It's
Ben?
Yes.
Oh, whatever. Ben, okay, all right. Anyway, but yeah, you're gonna have to call, you can call, instead of calling me the Polish Prince, you can call me Stan Stankowski. And I do pro wrestling with DMK Sports Network, and we're bringing it back to Cleveland, Ohio. Now, I'm older than you guys. I'm older than dirt. I used to be a manager of pro wrestling back in Cleveland in the 1970s and 80s. You know who I managed? Great wrestlers like Johnny Flowers.
Johnny Flowers.
He's powerful, isn't he?
He is.
No, he's flowerful.
No, I tell you,
Yes.
you might think of Johnny Powers
Yeah, I
from
was
70s.
like,
You heard of Johnny
it's-
Powers?
It somewhat rings a bell. But
Okay.
Yes.
Older people might know Johnny Flowers, who I managed. He was like a flower child. He was a popular in the 1970s in Cleveland, Ohio for big time wrestling. Now, Johnny Flowers had a finishing move called the Flower Power.
Wow.
He would get behind a wrestler, put a submission hold so tight that his opponent would pass out.
Ouch.
That's Johnny Flowers. What do you think about that, guys?
That's something else.
That is amazing. It sounds to me like that guy's going to need flowers because he's in the hospital. Sounds painful, that move.
Yeah.
I have another guy.
Is he still wrestling?
What's that?
Is he still wrestling?
No, Johnny Flowers is not wrestling anymore. He's been retired. I think he lives in Canada now, but he's been gone. But another guy I managed was Bobo Brazier.
Oh, Brazil. That sounds familiar to me.
I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling growing up, so I don't know Bobo.
All right, there was a guy named Bobo Brazil.
Oh, okay.
Black
Maybe
guy,
that's what I'm
Bobo
thinking.
Brazil. No, this guy was
Okay.
called Bobo Brazier.
Okay. That sounds French.
He's an African American wrestler from the 70s, 80s. Now, he wrestled so much he would have cauliflower ears. So he would come out wearing the brassiere over his head, and the cups would cover his ears so they could protect it from his cauliflower ears. That's Bobo Brazier.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Safety first.
Hey, you got to protect your ears.
But anyway, Tom and Jerry or Ben and whatever your guys' name is. Anyway, pro wrestling, we'll be back in Cleveland, and DMK Sports Network's gonna be doing it. I'll be ringside, and I hope your crew's gonna be helping out. That's coming up this year, pro wrestling in Cleveland, Ohio.
You heard it here first, Ben or Jerry. How do you want? Or Ben and Jerry.
Well, it could be Ben and Jerry or Tom and Jerry. Either way, we either have an ice cream or we're doing a cartoon. I'm not sure which. So
I'm just excited for local wrestling. How about that?
me too. And so I'm assuming Bobo, he's not wrestling anymore either. He's retired.
No, these
or-
guys are from the 70s. Come
Okay,
on. Come on. They're,
Well-
I mean, they're probably like 80, 90 years old by now.
They're a page right out of history.
Well, I mean, I don't know. They could be really in top physical condition. You never know. They could
That's
still be
true.
doing
They
it.
look like Ric Flair. I mean, Ric Flair had his, fair wear thing. Like, and also, aren't the Rolling Stones going to be downtown? I seen those dudes in 1982. It's called their Fair Wear Tour, and now they're still playing. What's going on with these old dudes?
It's sometimes hard to say goodbye. Maybe that's the problem. Sometimes it's hard to say goodbye.
I don't know. I just Rolling Stones, whatever. But again, pro wrestling was very popular in the 70s in Cleveland, and we're bringing it back, and it's great to be here on Cat TV.
I think there's a letter wrong on there.
That's it
What?
below the belt.
What is it called?
I think it's Bat. Yes, it's Bat you're referring
Oh,
to.
Bat TV.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Whatever. Yeah, that's fine. All right. I got to go now. I got some other podcasts I do, so I'll see you guys later.
That clip didn't say so, but Danny Kaye has a passion for polka, so he's all right with me. You know, he does Polka Time Ohio and more. All those shows are great. Every time I see a live polka band, I gotta look around. Is Danny Kaye here? Is his camera out? Do I have to?
Yeah, he might pop out of somewhere with a camera and just getting some video of it.
Yeah. So Danny Kaye, thanks for coming in. Dwayne Risco, if you've ever watched our public channel, you've probably seen one of his shows because he has multiple shows. Very passionate with his football or everything he has going on. Let's take a listen from that episode. When I first introduced you, I kind of wanted to ask how you heard of Bat, why you came in the first time. but I got a little spoiler. I asked Ben when he first met you, and he had an interesting story that he said he wouldn't tell me until the microphones were turned on. So I'll let Ben take it.
See,
from
that's Bat. Keeps you in the dark, but they're in the air.
There you go. So back before the first fire, back in 2006, you came in and you were part of like a softball league over at Nura Park.
Yes.
And you came in and you said that you wanted to start putting the games on with play-by-play. And so you learned how to run the camera and everything else. You took it out. You took it over there, but something happened. And you weren't able to do the play-by-play that night, so you came in afterwards and did play-by-play in the editing room. And we aired that show on Bat, and that was the first time I met you, and that was the first program that I know of that you put on. And then probably about 6 months later, then you called us and said you had another concept that you'd like to do, and you do it in a studio. So, yeah, your first show was actually the softball game that you had over, I think it was like a playoff or something.
Yeah. We also did an all-star game. A gentleman came up to me the other day out in Medina, because I play in a 50 and over league, which first started off with Dennis Jolly. And he come up and says, Dwayne, you probably don't remember me, but you and Kenny Rhoda did the All-Star game up in that booth over at Nura Park. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot all about that. So Kenny Rhoda came out and he did play-by-play while I was a color analyst that night for an All-Star softball game in Brunswick. Wow, and I forgot all about that. I did it first with you. You're right, that completely gone. See, I had a senior moment, never remembered that, see?
There you go.
That's
so that was
pretty
your first official show on Brunswick area television, which predates 2006.
Yeah. Blast from the
If you find that, there's one for the archive. Let's rerun that.
Oh, I would love to re-air that. That'd be great if you could find it somewhere in your house.
I know I got some stuff from a VHS in my archives. I probably have upstairs 200 VHS games from the John Cooper era and stuff that I used to record. Even when I was I used to do Columbus 3 or 4 games a year, and I did every Ohio State game from 1994 to 2008 till my mom got sick. And I would have all these. I got big boxes of all the VHS games that I recorded. And somewhere along the line, I probably got that in there. I'll have to go check that out one day.
Yeah, when we sat down with Dwayne, that was a good day. We had him come in here and talk about his passions and some of the things that he likes to do. I would definitely say that if you've watched the channel and you haven't caught any of his shows, you should probably tune in a little bit more and check them out. And they are available also. I don't know if you knew this, Tom, but you can watch those shows up to 3 months at bat.vibit.com.
Really?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, I knew that, though.
You can live stream them there, too. So if you know the times that they're airing, which is available on the city's website, www.brunswick.oh.us, you can check out the schedule. You can catch them there live streaming. You can watch them on the channel at those times. And then you can also watch the replays for up to 3 months. So you're in the know now, Tom.
That is pretty cool. I'm glad you said that, because some people say I don't have cable. Not an excuse. No. Oh, I don't live in Brunswick. Not an excuse.
Nope.
You can get it wherever, whenever.
You can watch the channel anywhere, even if you're on vacation. Let's say you're laying on the beach, like in some remote area, as long as it has Wi-Fi or phone service. You can watch a channel right there.
I've actually done that before. Took a vacation. Want to make sure the meetings were going out all right. So I watch a council meeting live from the lake,
Very
can't beat
nice.
that.
Yeah, even if you end up on a space station, you can watch the channel at bat.vibit.com. So Jim Bales is got a show that is very popular, not just here in Brunswick, but other places. And we talked to him in October about The Haunted Hotel. So let's take a quick listen to a little bit of that show. So you team up with this guy, Mr. Gruesome Graves. First of all, why don't you tell us how that whole interaction became? Because I don't know, were you just walking down the street one day in the dark and this guy pops out of nowhere? Did you stay at the Haunted Hotel and that's how you meet? Tell us a little bit about how you guys got working together.
Well, basically, Gruesome is a friend of mine, and we have the same likes and enjoyments. I was telling him about the idea that it would be great to bring another horror host back to Fort Wayne. We're too big an area not to have our own local guy. We've had the syndicated shows at Elvira, Wolfman Mac, Lord Bloodraw. We really need our own. We've had 2, and they were successful. It's time to have somebody else. And so as I was talking to him, he liked the idea, and we came up with the persona and the haunted hotel to put him in, and gave him his sidekick, and went from there.
Haunted Hotel, October. Is that the reason for that? We're in the Halloween spirit.
Yeah, I kind of think that, putting those together. And then of course, we did a marathon of his shows. We had Don's Breakfast Cereal in there. We had the Short and Shorter podcast that was in there. And a bunch of little sprinkled in treats for that entire marathon. So I think that went really well. A lot of people viewed it. And of course, we had the Lunch Break Live in studio with, Mario, Luigi, and of course, King Boo. So, I mean, that October was an amazing time for, all of those Halloween little things that were going on there.
We were so busy with that, we forgot to celebrate Community Media Day.
That's
on
true.
October 20th, 10/20.
That's okay, because next year we're going to do it up even better. We need an inflatable. We need an inflatable on top of the building, or like a searchlight, something like that.
The bat signal, yeah.
We'll do something.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I want to talk about the one and only Buck Wilford, because he joined us the following month, and he's notable around town as well. You might know him from church. You might know him from Veterans Day ceremonies. He just was a presenter. He's very involved with various community organizations, and it was great to get to hear from him about what his motivation was. So let's take a listen.
Yeah, my church is kind of different. I think all these churches in Brunswick are good churches. I know a lot of the other pastors, man. I think these guys are great guys, but everybody's got their own unique thing. It's like there's a church that just came over on Substation Road recently that's a branch off of Cuyahoga Valley Church. They're the same as me, my denomination, Southern Baptist. And I remember when their head pastor told me, "We're thinking about putting a church by you, Buck. Is that all right?" And I said, "It's more than all right." I said, "One thing in Brunswick, people come to church in Brunswick. They're good folks right there. There's a lot of churches. I think there's like at least 30 churches in this city." And I said, the thing that's special is every church has its own unique way, and it fits different people. Different people fit into different churches. So our church is a smaller church. Like, we run between 30 and 50 people on a Sunday morning, and everybody pretty much knows everybody. Everybody's really nice. I talk to people that come out to visit, and they tell me, "Man, like 6 different people came up and wanted to know what my name was, and like shook my hand and talked to me, and I felt cared for." And I think that's what's so special about having a smaller church. Something else about us, smaller church, is like after each service, we don't put it on the recording because it's private, so we turn the recording off, but we ask for prayer requests. They'll share a prayer request, something deep on their heart, or something that's troubling them, or something that just concerns them, and we talk about it for a minute, and we all pray about it right there. And then it only takes like maybe 10 minutes. It's not a long time, but it's a special way that we're really able to know what's going on in each other's lives. And I always tell the people when we pray about it, I said, remember what we're praying about. So throughout the week, when you think about these people, say a prayer for them. Just say a prayer right in your mind. You don't have to do something big and extensive, but it's a good way to stay connected and to care for each other.
If you're looking for things to do around the holiday, you could always go visit and see what they're up to. I always like talking to Buck. He's a very passionate guy. He's very upbeat, and he'll help you no matter what. So even if you don't know him, you could always sit down and talk to him, and he'd be happy to listen.
Oh, no kidding. After we stopped the recording, we sat around and talked. We wrapped up like 20 minutes to 5, and we ended up leaving here well after 5. We were all in a good mood. It was all a good time, but man, we were on a roll there. The next month was some schmoes doing a little recap podcast. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was filler. Those old TV shows where they always did the clip shows because they didn't really do anything. It'd be like Fred Sanford and Lamont, and they'd be like, I don't know, they'd be like marooned somewhere, even though they never went on a boat, but they somehow end up marooned somewhere. And the whole show would be clips of, remember that time this happened? And they just show it because they had that's kind of what this show is. It's kind of like, hey, we're kind of lazy. It's December, and hey, everybody's getting ready for the holidays, doing all that shopping, getting decorated and stuff. So, hey, let's do a clip show about what happened over the year. So, that's kind of like that. So we're right up there with Sanford and Son now. One of my favorite shows, by
That's
the
a
way.
good one. First of all, there's only 3 of us here. I wouldn't describe any of us as lazy, so I'm going to nitpick you on that one. We are efficient at times, but
Okay.
and now that
I'm
you
efficient, and we should do a clip show.
Yeah.
How's that? Is that better? I'll fix it in editing.
now that you pitch that idea, I want harps and everything. Like we should be sitting there. Remember when Dwayne came in? You know.
It's a Scooby-Doo episode.
So that gets us up to date on the 2024 episodes of Meet the Producers. I hope you enjoyed it. We have more in the works, so stay tuned. But for now, we're going to talk about some preview things. We're going to talk about actual shows on the channel and some new producers, some producers that came back from years ago. So, Ben, I believe they reached out to you first, the Short and Shorter podcast. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So Morgan, who is working on that with Alex, she stopped in and said, "Hey, I just learned about you guys, and I want to find out some information about doing a podcast." I guess they had been working on doing a podcast before. They had some audio issues. They had some other things that were like just little hurdles that they were trying to get over.
Things in the works.
Sure. And so they came in, and we have the Rodecaster, which is here for people to use. We also have equipment that can go out on location. So they decided to do it here. It's a video podcast, and I would definitely recommend that you check it out. Airs right here on the channel, airs up at Vibit. And then they have their own social media out there where they have it on YouTube. They have their own Facebook page. So, you can interact with them. It's not like you just like watch the show and you don't get to interact. And they do movie reviews. So basically they take those shows or that you would watch at home or that you might see in a movie theater, and then they talk about them. And then it's really kind of entertaining. I am going to tell you this, though. There's a lot of spoilers. So
I know. They got ahead of a few movies, so I had to watch for 1 year open so I can monitor the show, and then 1 year closed so I didn't spoil the movie for myself.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the movie they're talking about, I would definitely watch it first unless you want it to be blown out of the water, because they are going to tell you a lot about it. But that just kind of is what you do with a friend if you guys had both watched the movie. So I think it's kind of neat that way. So
Yeah,
it's definitely there.
Siskel and Ebert, but right here at home.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. How often does that show go?
That show is a monthly show, so it airs 2 times a week on the channel. And you can check the listings on our website, which is www.brunswick.oh.us. And then you can tune in and watch them. And like we've always said, if you got to catch them online, you can always catch them at bat.vibit.com.
Cool. Yeah, the Short and Shorter podcast. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever they have going on. View, enjoy. That's
Show your love.
Yeah. So the next ones, we had Reverend Cynthia and Elizabeth Howell come in. You might know them from years ago. They used to do a show called Psychic Sushi. And that was on and off a little bit when I started up here, but I heard stories of back in the day when they'd bring live studio audiences and have this whole elaborate production. But they are back, and they're doing a show called The Fairy Godmother's Pod of Wisdom and Knowledge. First off, it's great having them back. It's interesting to see some of the same topics and done in a different strategy, in a different format with the podcast, and the way they can integrate social media as well to get feedback and kind of search what topics are hot at the time so they can do the astrology readings. Or they've done live readings on the show, right?
Yeah. Well, they welcome you to contact them through social media and also their email address. And then that way you can tell them that you want to be on the show, and then they'll have you call in, and then you can talk to them about whatever. They'll do the tarot card readings and help you out. They'll also tell you about your spirit animals and other stuff that's going on. So if you've not caught the show, definitely should do it. That's a bi-weekly show. So every 2 weeks we get a new show with them. They're shooting it right here at Brunswick Area Television. It's a video podcast. So you'll be able to see and listen to it. And like we said earlier, they have a whole bunch of social media out there that they're working on. And then they also have, it as a podcast out there as well. So check it out. It's up at YouTube. It's on Vibit. It's everywhere that you want to watch.
Awesome. I do want to mention we got another new show in. This is the Strongsville Christian Church. This, you might think, Brunswick Area Television, Strongsville, what's going on here? This is another one of those sponsorship opportunities where someone who attends that church, lives in town, thought, hey, we record this, why don't we put it on the channel? So they filled out the paperwork to sponsor them. That's the example. It's not a financial sponsorship. It just means they're vouching for them. So no different if they came in and used our equipment and created a show. They're able to sponsor the church, and then they submit the service for playback. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask, because we welcome just about anything here, as long as it's not threatening, or you're not breaking the law by putting through a certain production. We'll welcome it here.
330-220-1726 or bat@brunswick.oh.us to email us, and we'd love to talk to you and hear from you.
Yeah. So churches, you have to think religious program, opinions, church services, nonprofit organizations in that way, or residents for their opinion shows. They're welcome to come in and create their own content. And that's why we have so many churches on, and that's why we have so many opinion shows and talent shows, and just people can come in and talk about what they're passionate about. If that's something that interests you, give that number Ben just gave you a call, 330-220-1726. Or if you want to know how to run everything behind the scenes, let's say somebody wants to come in and do a show about their opinion, or, interview bands or whatever their local passion is. They might need somebody to run the camera for them. They might need somebody to run the control room. If we're busy, or if somebody just has a passion for that, we'll show them how to do it. I believe most residents of Brunswick and Brunswick Hills understand that, but I want every nonprofit organization and church within the Brunswick area to understand that as well.
And I challenge someone to come in and do a cooking show. Kitchen set is ready to go just for you. And in 2025, I would love to see somebody come in and do a cooking show. Come in and show the residents of Brunswick and Brunswick Hills Township that, hey, this is what you can do to make wonderful dishes at your house, and share some of those recipes with the community.
Mm-hmm. And Ben means it too, because he's had a cooking show years ago. He took the camera home, though, cooking with kids, right?
Yeah, cooking with kids. Yeah.
What do you think, Ben? Was there anything else you wanted to mention?
We have a lot of longtime producers here at Brunswick Area Television. I mean, these are folks that, back when public access started in Brunswick in 2002, they were at the door. There was an invite sent out at that time saying, hey, why don't you come see the studio? Now, we were over at Laurel Square at the time, and those people showed up, and they came and checked the place out and signed up for camera training and other stuff like that. Over the years, things have evolved in the way that they do it. Like, some of them have their own switching equipment now, and they have cameras set up for the way that they run it. And so now, but they're still doing shows with us for all that time. And so I think this is a great opportunity for you to tell people, Tom, about those people and what they're doing here at Brunswick Area Television.
Excellent point. So we talked about the brand new shows. Why not go back to the OGs?
Sure.
St. Mark's is on that list. St. Mark's Lutheran Church Service. I'm going to let you guess what that number is, how many shows they do, because they actually do quite a few.
Well, they do a weekly service times 2. So that's 104 shows a year. That has to be right up there, or at least 100 shows a year between their 2 services, I would say.
Yeah. So that's not a guess, but I'll tell you. When I did my annual report,
that's mathematics.
Going into this year, they had 1,598 shows.
Wow.
That's quite a big number. And that's, like you mentioned, they do 2 services on the channel a week. So that's early and late. One's more traditional, one's more, I don't know, how would you describe that?
Yeah, they call it their contemporary service.
Okay.
Yeah, their contemporary service.
Okay. So that high number was at the beginning of this year. I haven't even counted up how many we have this year. And they're always very consistent turning shows in. And they're actually a good example of, for years, they always burned a DVD and brought it in. And then that's cost and time, inefficiency. So that took a lot of their volunteers' time and money to do it that way, where you got together with them and actually devised a plan where they can just get us the digital file.
Sure.
So that's a way that we've kind of, adapted over the years to make it easier for them. And then they haven't necessarily, but other churches have actually called us out to take a look at their camera equipment. Like, we are having a problem with this. How do we calibrate this? Or what would you recommend we buy? So that's well within reason to ask us as well. We're happy to help with that. Another one is Sunday worship. That's another church service. Since you didn't actually give me a number on the last one, I'll just tell you the number. So that one has aired 971 shows at the turn of this year.
Wow.
They're the church right by the corner.
Brunswick United Methodist Church. Yeah, they used to do 2 shows. They had one called Sunday Worship and one called Family Worship. They're now doing Sunday Worship. So we have a new show comes in every week. Fred, who's one of their volunteers, brings it over, drops it off on a USB drive, and we download the show. And then each week we swap out for a new USB drive. So it's real easy to do. He just comes in, drops it off, and we do have a Dropbox. So if for some reason he can't make it during the day when we're open, or if you want to do a show and you're like, and I don't know how I would get this over there. I mean, we have a Dropbox, so you can drop it and we check it daily, and we get the shows uploaded and ready for playback. So we're always willing to work with people to get their shows on, and whatever their concept is.
Fred would probably make a pretty cool guest on this show, just from his point of view as the camera guy and the runner for the show. And, it's probably an interesting point of view he has. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I'm curious if that gives him like extra, meaning within the church. He's giving back to the church in that way. Or like, let's say you're at a Little League game and, you're there anyhow. Why not take a camera out, record the game? That might be something that grandma who lives out of town might want to watch. And this is a way you could get that to her. You might take video on your phone and stuff, which you're welcome to put on the channel as well. But how many of those videos do you just, brush to the side? So this is a way you could do kind of something meaningful and worthwhile with that. So I'm just curious Fred's point of view, if that's...
Yeah, because he does run camera. He does run camera on there.
So added purpose, and we're happy to have Sunday worship on the channel. And thank you, Fred, for doing the legwork for it. Polka Time again. So that's another sponsored show that's done out in Wadsworth. But I'll tell you what, Brunswick, we love us some polka, don't we?
Absolutely.
At the turn of the year, they were up to 922 episodes.
Wow.
And they actually were on the air before we had a sponsor for them here. So they're way up there. But if you want to hear some polka music, here's the Kovac family talk about their experiences at different dance halls and throughout the years going to polka shows and introducing old bands they've seen. It's a pretty fun show. And the last one I want to note is St. Ambrose Mass. So Mrs. Tina Gook.
Absolutely.
She used to take a camera out every week, and she was everywhere with it. So she even took cameras out of state.
Yeah, she one time took one to Arizona for a conference that she went to. And then while she was out there, she did a bunch of other shows on top of that. So if they went to visit some location, some tourist place in Arizona, then she'd just show up with the camera and say, hey, do you mind if I shoot this? And they said it was fine. So she did a whole bunch of shows. She does a show called Potpourri here as well. And Potpourri is where a lot of those shows ended up. So yeah, if you want to check out Potpourri, that one's on bi-weekly, and it's here on the channel. Currently, we don't have new St. Ambroses coming in. Maybe that'll change here in 2025. So if you're listening out there and you want to get some St. Ambroses on, let us know. We would love to hear from you, and then we can see what we can do through the church.
I think it's one of the largest parishes in the region, I think. So we're bound to have some overlap listeners with them.
That's true. They can sit down and talk to Father Bob about being on Brunswick area television.
Yes, I agree. We welcome it. And the Potpourri show is a great example of, we're not affiliated with the networks. We have flexibility. We can do long form shows, short form shows about whatever topic you guys want. So we offer more flexibility than I believe most other places would be able to. And I just want to make sure everybody's aware of it.
So, Tom, real quick before we go, there's one thing I wanted to ask you. It's kind of an opinion question. So, I mean, of course, with opinion questions, there's no wrong answer. So, don't feel too much pressure. But
That's what you say now.
yeah, well, do you think when Santa Claus goes to other countries, he speaks the language of that country or he speaks his native language? So, for example, let's say he was to go to Europe and end up in France for some reason. Do you think he speaks French there? Or do you think he speaks like whatever he normally speaks and people don't really realize what he's saying if he was to run into somebody?
I think he sneaks around. He doesn't have to say anything. If he needed to, he could.
So you think if he ended up in Canada in a Tim Hortons, for example, he wouldn't be like, hey,
If he's shopping, he's probably just pretending to be, one of the regular old jolly elves like me. So he goes in Timmy Ho's and he orders in whatever language, if he's in French Canada or if he's...
Okay, I just wanted to see, because, I've been thinking about this a lot. And I'm like, so does Santa Claus, when he goes different places, does he have a different dialect? Does he talk the language? Or does he just pretend that he doesn't know what's going on?
I'm sure he's multilingual at this point.
Okay.
He's been doing it a long time, so...
That's true. This is very true. I'm sure he's very, good at what he does. So.
There's also somebody said he might have helpers elsewhere. So if he doesn't know a certain language, maybe he sends a helper out to that area.
Maybe he uses Google Translate or something. He talks into his phone and just talks back to him.
Yeah, I think for the most part, he's keeping to himself. He's got work to do.
That's true. That's true. After he gets out of the mall and has all those kids on his lap, he's got to go take a break.
He's got to deliver the presents.
But I mean,
not taking a break.
He's got to take a little bit of a break here and there. I mean, you don't want him to get burned out. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's he going to do? He has to take a break. Mm-hmm. He's not phoning it in. I'll just tell you that.
At the new year, he can get a break.
There you go.
Well, for Ben Staunton and this jolly old elf over here, Tom Kepler, this has been Meet the Producers. I speak from my own opinion. I think 2024 was a great year here at the Bat.
Hey.
Yeah, Ben agrees. I think it's all because of our volunteer producers. So everyone we mentioned who came in to meet the producers, thank you very much. I hope everybody has a happy holiday season and a good new year.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bat Government programs are produced by Corinne Kirk, Tom Kepler, and Ben Staunton. You can find this and other programs as well as a live stream on our on-demand website, bat.vibit.com. Feel free to reach out, offer a suggestion, or get involved. Thanks for tuning in.